I wanted to show you aspects of the Look and Think test. Now, the parts that are pictorial are available for you to download and print off on the Learn page, but there are sections at the beginning that use real objects. So now I have the test and I will show you those parts. This is going to consist of several short videos just because there are so many pieces to have out all at once. With the test there is also a recording sheet which I can show you there. Now you will notice that the language used at the top is not the language that we'd use today. This assessment is quite old. However, the test is still valid and you can learn a lot. You will see from the recording sheet down the left, it tells you what you need, what each part is going to do. So for example, the first one is about naming 3D objects. You then record the child's response with either a plus sign or a minus to indicate that they've got it right or incorrect. And then we've got this large section here, which I particularly like for teacher comments. So you can say, for example, how close the child was when they were looking at the objects. If they have very, very poor acuity, did they try and use their hands to discriminate what some of the real objects were, which actually is not allowed? Did they need additional verbal prompts, and so on. So lots of good, useful information that you can put in that section there. So let's begin by looking at the first part. Now, on the sheet, it does tell you exactly what you need, and I would lay them out on the table like this. Perhaps a little bit more spread out, but just because of the angle of the camera, they've got to be a little closer together. And I'd ask the child to tell me what each thing was without touching them. They're not allowed to touch them. They have to name them just by looking. They can name them in any order that they like. They don't have to start on the left with the cup. I would put the cup and the spoon and the sock as the first three things because they should be really more familiar with them. You can do this test as you could imagine with quite a young child. The key and the brick may be a little bit less familiar to them, but they should know the others. Although this is called a cup, on the response sheet, mug is as fine as an answer. So part of the assessment also is once that they've named them, they can help you to put them away as well. So that was section 1. Now I'm just going to bring the items forward for the next part. You should stand these up, but just it makes it easier to see them if I put them lying down. Move them around a little bit. Just, I'll put these here. There we go. I think you can just about see these all ish. I'm going to bring this one just in front here. So again, I put these out a line, and this time we're naming 3D models. So the sheep, the horse, the plane, the truck or a lorry, the man, and a chair. So perhaps a little bit more challenging. Obviously, you would have to take into consideration the experiences of the child. May not know the difference between a sheep and a horse, but that is this part of the assessment. So you need to be a little bit careful when you are analysing the responses. Again, they shouldn't touch them before they name them, and they can help you to put them away too. They can play with them as they're going away. Now the next part has actually got many sections within it, and this is about discriminating within 3D objects. So this time slightly different. So here on the table I would put out these 4 objects and I would ask the child to tell me which one is different. And they could point to it, but they can't lift them up. They've got to be able just to tell you which one is different. They don't need to name them. They don't need to know that this one is a cuboid or a rectangle or anything like that. They just need to tell you which one is different. From there, we move on back to our animals. Now, each time you can put the one that's different in a different place. It doesn't matter where, but I would certainly suggest that you have, for each different one, that you put it all in a different, the one that's odd one out different. So sometimes in the middle, sometimes at the beginning, sometimes at the end. And again, here are some animals. A child can't lift them up, can't touch them until they tell you which one is different. And here we've got our friend, the hippo. From there, we move on to some familiar items again, but subtly different here. Putting it in a different place. See if I can just move these along. Maybe have to lay them down a little bit close together. You can see this one here has got no handle and the rest do. That's that part. And then from there we move on to our bricks here. Just change the order. Harder to see probably which one is the odd one out, but here the one on the end has got chamfered edges as opposed to these ones. So that is that one. This one here, slightly different. This is a bit, almost a bit, I'm going to lay them flat because I think it's easier to see it that way. It's going to be difficult that they don't roll away. So remember, when you're doing it with a child, you stand them up like this, but just because of the camera, I'm going to lay them down. And for this one, it's finding the 2 that are the same. So these 2 are the same and the other 2 are different sizes. So that's those ones. And the final part to this test, I think, is one that I did mention briefly in the recorded lecture. Here we've got our 4 dolls. Very fetching outfits. Try and get the heads all looking the same. I'm afraid the hair's gone a little wild. Clearly suffering through lockdown. And which one is different? And here we've got the one that's got no belt. So this is the first practice video. I'll be back shortly with the next set of materials.